Great. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thanks. Hopefully, everybody had an enjoyable Thanksgiving. I'm Paul Costell, Region Manager with J.P. Morgan Chase, and I'm honored to be here today with Mayors Fisher, Mayors Gray, and Rick Goodman of the Brookings Institute. We're here to show J.P. Morgan support for the Beam region. Almost 4 years ago, J.P. Morgan Chase launched the Global Cities Initiatives with the Brookings Institute to help communities think about economic development in a new way. The goal of this initiative is to identify and help build new opportunities for our cities to forge productive economic relationships around the world. The cities of Louisville and Lexington have been actively engaged in this, working together like no other time that we've seen, I believe, in the history of our state. So I'm proud of our partnership with Mayors Fisher and Gray and the work that they've done, and so I'll turn it over to Mayor Fisher.
Thank you, Paul, and appreciate all of the work that J.P. Morgan Chase has done to really provide the fuel to this partnership. Speaking of partnerships, it's with great sorrow that I come to Frankfort this morning to pay off a debt that I have to Mayor Gray. So we had a little football game on Saturday. The University of Louisville was favored. It was a great upset by the University of Kentucky Wildcats, so we have to give credit where credit is due. And Mayor Gray, being a huge sports fan, insisted that we bet on this contest. So we bet some of our best local ales against each other. So I've come to Frankfort with a peace offering of sorts. So we have 6 Falls City hipster repellent IPAs for you right here. Okay, there you go. And then we also have some fantastic Goodwood, which is a Louisville lager, brewed in Louisville as well. So, Mayor, I trust that you will enjoy these until the next contest, where I'm sure the Louisville Cardinals will prevail over the Kentucky Wildcats. So, congratulations.
I'm glad that you see that I'm glad to see, Mayor, that you deliver on your commitments so quickly. And we may need this after a long meeting today. Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, congratulations. That was a heck of a game. And onward we go from here into basketball season. All right. Well, hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Appreciate you all coming out the Monday after. Sadiqa Reynolds is here, the president of the Louisville Urban League. Thank you. Our founding chairman, Jim Host, thank you as well. And we'll be going into a meeting of the Beam Initiative shortly after this. Just a little history. Mayor Gray and I were elected on the same day in 2010. Like the rest of the country, our cities were trying to figure out how to come out of the recession that we were in. And so as business folks, we were asking ourselves a bunch of essential questions. How do we grow our economy so we have enough good jobs for our citizens? And that question led to other questions like, how do we capitalize on the strengths of our existing industries while cultivating emerging industries in our cities? And then how do we help our businesses market their products and services internationally? We had both done a lot of international business as business folks and entrepreneurs. And then how do we prepare our economy for what we saw surely would be growth coming back to our cities? And that included our companies, our workforce, our economic business development communities, to adapt to a world that was becoming increasingly global. And we knew that if you were not playing on a global stage and you had foreign competitors, your days could be numbered. So we knew from our previous careers that it was best if we got our teams together. And as Paul talked about, we decided to attack this so-called Louisville versus Lexington divide and say that is a silly anachronism. We need to work together so we can present a unified force to the world that would allow us better to compete together for our whole state, and in fact that's turned out to be true. So we knew we had to think globally, and we knew that our cities and our state could win and compete in the global marketplace. So we left the sports rivalries to the side. While we still bet on them, we let them to the side. And those conversations led to the creation of the Bluegrass Economic Advancement Movement, also known as BEAM. And then our work with the Global Cities Initiative, which is a partnership of Brookings and the J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation. So there was a lot of data that told us this was the right move. 74% of foreign direct investment in the U.S. is concentrated in the top 100 metropolitan areas. Louisville is the 43rd biggest metro in the country. Lexington is 107. if Louisville and Lexington were a united metro area, the 22-county Beam region would rank as the 37th largest metro in the U.S. So Beam is working with the Global Cities Initiative to increase exports and foreign direct investment, which we think will help provide a lot of fuel for the vibrant 21st century cities based on good quality jobs, innovation, research, development, international growth, and more. And this has been a real winner for Kentucky. In 2013, we released the Beam Regional Export Plan, which focused expanding exporting activity. And as we announced earlier this year, the region met its 5-year goal to export success, mostly among small and medium-sized businesses. So we want to increase that volume by 50%, 5-year goal. We met it in 3 years. So overall, our state has seen record exports 5 years in a row. So we want to naturally build on that success. And that means cultivating new companies and developing more relationships with more countries. And it means supporting state-level efforts to grow foreign investment and complementing the focus with strategies tailored to the needs of our metropolitan areas where so much investment is concentrated in our country. It means working together as cities to showcase our region's greatest strengths to the world. International companies are part of the region's most important sectors. We see that here: automotive, chemicals, business services, life sciences, and of course, nobody touches our bourbon industry. So when you look at companies like Clariant, a Swiss company, Flex Films, Indian, a company in Elizabethtown, Hogan Lovells, UK in Louisville, Medea, China in Louisville, Linnick, Denmark, also in Louisville, and more represent just a part of the FDI around the Louisville area, not to mention Toyota, Will's here, Bertley, Sumitomo, Coldstream Laboratories, and many, many more in the Lexington area. So these companies all see the massive benefit of investing in our region, and we want more of the companies to do the same. The Beam region has been selected by the Brookings Institution to be part of a group of cities to develop plans for increasing the role of FDI in achieving key economic development goals around job growth, wage growth, increased industry activity, and increased innovation. Brookings contributed original research, coaching, and access to peers across the country. And that learning cohort has been tremendous for us as we've benchmarked our efforts against other cities and have improved our approach. So, Merrick, to you and the whole Brookings team, I really want to say thank you. You guys have been a tremendous partner throughout all this. Japan's investment in Beam Suntory, China's investment in GE Appliances, Mexico's investment in Louisville Ladder, and many others are part of the international M&A activity we also see in our region. We are in a global world. There is some question, obviously, with the new presidential team coming in place as to what's going to be happening with trade, with FDI, with exports. But frankly, I'm not sure any of us know right now. So we'll just kind of keep the course, keep making good quality products, have high productivity, and I think the future will take care of itself. In the Beam region and across U.S., a lot of foreign capital enters local markets through purchases or mergers with middle market companies. And Brookings defined those as companies with at least 20 employees and between $10 million and $1 billion in annual revenue that are looking to grow or sell. This is an important finding for us because we already know that the actions of middle market companies determine a lot about the health and growth of our economy. And we have a lot of middle market countries or companies in our cities, in our state. We already know from our work on the Beam Regional Export Plan in 2013, we also a project that we undertook with Brookings, that middle market companies are key to export growth because there is so much untapped potential among SMEs. In fact, 58% of SMEs that export do so to only one country. So fortunately, we're starting to see that grow. And we know from broader research that middle market companies are an engine for job creation. Mayor Gray and I set a new goal in the spring of this year to grow exports even more by 2020. We met our first 5-year goal in 3 years, as I said, so we set another goal. The Beam Global Trade and Investment Plan we are releasing today lays out key findings on foreign direct investment in the region and proposes 4 strategies to guide the region's goal to increase FDI in key sectors for our future growth. So before I hand things over to Mayor Gray to say a little bit about these 4 strategies, I would like to thank the members of the Beam Core Group and Beam Advisory Group, many of whom are here with us right now, whose research, analysis, and hard work made this plan a reality. These groups include the staff from Louisville Forward and Mayor Gray's office, Commerce Lexington, I see Bob here, the Kentucky World Trade Center, the U.S. Commercial Service, thank you all for being here, the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, GLI, Kent Oilers over here. All of these folks have helped shepherd this work from the beginning to the end. So we appreciate your all's work and commitment to this. This has been going on now almost 5 years, so it's been a real contribution to the intellectual capital of our state. And in many ways, when you think about the changes from us coming out of the recession to where we're at today, we were really looking ahead at what was going to happen, and the work that we've done in this area has really helped position our cities and our state in a much more effective manner. So congratulations to everybody on that. I would also like to thank again the Brookings Institution. Their ongoing partnership with our cities and with the Beam region has been super valuable, not just for the work that we're doing in this area, for many of the challenges that we're facing in our country right now. We can always go to Brookings for a global perspective of where they've networked all of the best learnings in the country to help cities and regions come together to meet the demands of the 21st century economy. So again, Merrick, thank you on that. So now please welcome to the stage the winner of the bet, Mayor Gray.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Mayor Fisher. And I do want to say that our founding chair, Jim Host, did say that that this game may have been the most significant football game since he started following in 1951. Wasn't that it? Yep, since 1951. Now, you can talk about that later in the meeting. I too want to thank Paul Castell for everything that J.P. Morgan Chase has done. We're going to hear more about that in just a few minutes, but also Brookings and the insights and the intellect that they brought to the table for this project that has really, in so many ways, brought Lexington and Louisville together in an unprecedented way, and that's what Paul said earlier. And Greg and I often talk about, I'm just going to say parenthetically, Greg and I often talk about how much that we've been able to do beyond just the economic themes of this initiative, the BEAM initiative. But our cities today are working together on so many of the challenges that we have as cities. And that translates into so many ways in both of our cities. I want to thank everyone for joining us today as we announce the BEAM Global Trade and Investment Plan. It's our guide to more intentionally, more deliberately pursuing foreign direct investment. For their work on the plan, I also want to thank the BEAM teams in both cities, GLI and the Commerce Lexington team of Jenna Greathouse, Allison Boyd, Kimberly Rossetti, and Hannah Crumrine, Mary Ellen Wiederwall in Mayor Fisher's office, and Kevin Atkins in my office. Greg already thanked folks at the state and federal levels. I also want to deeply thank again Amy and Merrick and Brad and the folks at Brookings, who have spent 5 years, as Mayor Fisher said, in working with the cities of Lexington and Louisville to grow our economies and position our region as a globally focused, forward-looking hub. When we think of foreign direct investment, or FDI, in Lexington, of course, there's the famous example, Will James, of your company, of Toyota. That investment has been building now for 30 years. Yes, one result of their investment is jobs, really great jobs. And those jobs continue to grow with the recent addition of the Lexus line. But it's more than that. Toyota is so large, so significant, and so well run a company that it's really like a planet. It exerts a gravitational pull, bringing together companies and jobs to Kentucky. Suppliers and talent and investment want to be close to Toyota. That's the way it is. And it brings partners like the Bluegrass Community and Technical College into its orbit to create things like Kentucky Fame, the program that's filling the pipeline for the next generation of manufacturing workers. And now Kentucky Fame is statewide. That's a big deal. I have my own experiences that I sometimes share, and Greg and I both talk about this a lot because we both have had these same experiences. Mine is a family company, Gray Construction. Toyota actually brought us into its orbit to help build its facility more than 30 years ago. And then we took the lessons we learned and started reaching out to other manufacturers from Japan, Germany, France, all over Europe, and even today China, to help them build in Kentucky, to help them build in America. Something on the scale of Toyota is, of course, a once-in-a-generation event. But we've seen other examples that are squarely in the middle market, which we've identified in our report as being the sweet spot. In Lexington, we've seen an investment from South Korea help Clark Materials Handling grow, making the world-class forklift company even better. Just last year, they announced they were bringing 30 jobs back from Mexico to Lexington. And we've seen it in biotech. Lexington's Primal Pharma Solutions was purchased by an Indian company, and then it announced 40 new jobs and a $13 million capital investment. There are many more examples. But to truly maximize the potential of foreign direct investment, we need to be, and I used these words earlier, intentional and deliberate. We need to have a plan, and now we have one. Mayor Fisher mentioned that the plan has 4 strategies, and I want to briefly mention them. Number 1, dedicate increased energy to fostering middle market growth, which is the key to FDI and export success. We will build and focus our business retention and expansion tactics. Strategy number 2, focus on established and emerging clusters that command higher wages, including advanced industries like chemicals, life sciences, software, IT, and business services, and recruit and maintain the new graduates and mid-career professionals to help these companies grow. Strategy number 3, focus on historically strong foreign relationships like Japan and Germany, and strategically focus on growing investment from Asia and Latin America. We will prioritize markets for active engagement. And strategy number 4, the need to continue building the workforce that will support the region's ambitions and plans. That means everything from Kentucky Fame, which we mentioned before, to coding programs like Code Louisville and Lexington's Awesome Inc. So we have a plan, which we're very proud to share with you all today. And we are going to execute on it. We are going to implement it. But there's another announcement today as well. Many of you know that our export work was done as part of the Global Cities Initiative, a collaboration of Brookings and the J.P. Morgan Chase Foundation. And now I want to ask for him to come back up to the podium, our good friend at J.P. Morgan Chase, Paul Castell. Paul.
Well, I'll get right to it. Today, J.P. Morgan Chase is pleased to announce our support of Beam International 2.0 with a $220,000 grant to again increase export success and foreign direct investment in the Beam region. The great thing about the Beam initiative and our 2 mayors are, as we've seen from the recent election, people care about jobs. It's all about the economy. Both our mayors, former businessmen who understand the importance of both growing their companies, creating jobs here, and creating opportunities for our residents to have jobs with foreign direct investment. This is why it's so important to J.P. Morgan Chase. We have both we feel both a responsibility and an obligation to help our communities thrive. So for 200 years, we've been helping businesses around the world export, and we've also been using our global reach to help companies bring jobs here. So we're proud to support the implementation of this effort. By working together, like the mayors have done the last 4 years, we can help businesses compete in the global marketplace. strengthen our regional economy and our community. With that, I'd like to bring up Merrick of the Brookings Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge first my colleague, Brad McDearman, who really led this work in collaboration with the teams in Louisville and Lexington and the entire Beam region, and is actually a native of Louisville. So thank you, Brad, for taking charge on this on behalf of Brookings and the Global Cities Initiative. I just want to make a few remarks that reinforce what you've heard from the mayors and also from JP Morgan Chase. The Global Cities Initiative, in which this region became very early part, is intended to strengthen the international economic connections and competitiveness of our city regions in order to create more sustained job growth and economic growth in higher quality jobs and economic activity. That's with a focus on traded sectors. And we've been doing this through research, through problem solving, innovation with regions like Beam, and through exchange, through a cohort process, all competitively selected city regions through a very, very vigorous process. Louisville and Lexington came in with the Beam region at the earliest stage of the Global Cities Initiative, and we have come back for 5 years because of the early successes that we have seen emerge from this area through the unique collaboration of two metropolitan areas alongside the private sector and civic organizations. So this has been an extremely effective region in terms of developing and executing on strategies. We have seen tangible, measurable results so far from particularly the export activities and the workforce activities, and we are confident, especially with the early implementation support from JP Morgan Chase Foundation, that this will be true for foreign direct investment as well. There is a significant national and international debate over trade right now. And there are a lot of competing opinions about free trade agreements, about renegotiating agreements. It really doesn't matter because currently 39% of all global GDP is attributed to cross-border transactions of goods, services, and capital under the existing rules. This trend toward urbanization, increased middle class around the world, additional markets, and globalization will continue in some fashion. And it's really a question of whether city regions and the firms in them are effectively positioned to take advantage of this trend or whether they will be taken advantage of. So whatever your political views of free trade agreements and trade, our work with about 30 U.S. city regions and about a dozen international reinforce that it is invaluable for the private sector and public sector in our city region economies to be working together to address the global marketplace. There are reasons, especially mentioned on foreign direct investment, which made this transition from exports into foreign-owned enterprise engagement so significant. Foreign-owned enterprises represent nearly 20% of all national research and development expenditures. They pay more than 20% higher wages. They bring innovation, knowledge transfer, and networks into international marketplaces that are extraordinarily beneficial to our firms and to job growth. So it is really critical to link up the work that's already been done around exports with the opportunities around foreign-owned enterprises, not as if we are going to be disadvantaged by foreign investment coming in, and as the mayors indicated, in some instances, merging, acquiring, or joint venturing with our local companies, but as an opportunity to grow jobs here, utilizing that foreign investment and foreign knowledge and those foreign connections. It's all a question about how you manage that, as opposed to a disadvantage in foreign presence in these markets. So I think that the steps being taken, especially this focus on middle market firms, where you have the greatest economic and job growth, is really critical and a terrific outcome from the strategic planning process. I'll just conclude with a great deal of optimism about what's happened in this region over the past 5 years. Again, you have seen measurable results from the kinds of strategies and programs and tactics being implemented in collaboration between the private and public sector and across the greater Beam region. And so I believe that this continued emphasis on competitiveness, on investments in talent, innovation, and traded sectors is going to yield even greater results going forward for this region. So I congratulate you on this terrific work, and we are ready to stay around for another 5 years to make sure that it goes well. Thank you.
I want to thank Janine Duncliffe over here. Janine has been kind of our Sherpa through the whole Beam process. Have you ever worked with somebody that's like so low key? You know, she says thank all these people. She leaves her name out because she's the one that's responsible for really pulling so much of this together. So Janine, thank you for the just tremendous work you've done around all this. Good job. Okay, we're happy to take any questions. Okay. Well, man, I was almost going to call it a day. Go ahead.
Being now, this is 22 counties, Kentucky, a couple of Southern Indiana. Any thoughts of expanding your service area as well?
Not really. I mean, this is, of course, Lexington to Southern Indiana basically is the Beam region. Now, when you think about what we've created as part of this, including the Kentucky FAME Workforce Development Initiative, that has been piloted in Louisville, Lexington, and then spread statewide. So a lot of the practices that we're doing are being shared. But the whole concept is based on this metro economy concept and the joining of Lexington through Louisville. So there's other regions, for instance, the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky metro region as well. And so we encourage all of the metro economies to kind of look at their own areas and develop those programs.